Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, and welcome back to the F4L Headquarters Podcast. Thank you. Oh, thank you. You're too much. You guys are just too much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You guys, if everyone had such a great crowd, it would be fantastic. Well, folks, we're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump into things. But first, before I get into deeper and, before I want to start off with some pleasant things to talk about first. Well, first and foremost, I want to wish my daughter a happy belated birthday. We did celebrate her birthday on her day, which was the 16th. We had a fantastic day of bowling and a family day of gaming where she beat me again. Fun fact about my daughter, there has been a stated rule in my lifetime that there has never been a time in my life that anyone's been able to defeat me 3 times in a row in any kind of a game or sport or anything else. Well, that wasn't until I had kids. So to this day, the only person to be the first person to ever defeat me 3 times in a row in anything is my daughter, my lovely daughter, who turned 22 to make me feel even older than I am. Thank you very much. And, she wouldn't be as awesome as she was. It wasn't for her mother, who did a fantastic job on her own for quite a bit, and then me and myself coming in and helping out as well. Both of us together helping to raise such an amazing human being who is a fantastic human being. And we couldn't be prouder of her, and I couldn't be prouder to be in this same company as these people who are fantastic. So before we get into the heavier topics, let's wish my lovely daughter a happy birthday with this special presentation for her. Thank you very much. I want to appreciate that. So, happy birthday to my lovely daughter who turned a year older and making me feel even older than I am. So, thank you very much for that. She's awesome, though. And one birthday down, 1 to go, as my son will be turning 21 in November. I know, I can't believe it myself, folks. The other half of Jez and Son's dream matches. Getting to be 21, considering we started doing the show when he was 11. That's a pretty good long time now. And we only keep getting bigger. So we'll talk about him when it gets closer to his birthday. But we had a great day with her for hers. And we may have some bigger news coming down the road. We'll have to wait and find out. But couldn't be prouder. And every day she's an awesome daughter, folks. And she is just an amazing human being, and the world is a better place because she is in it. So thank you very much to her, my lovely wife, for helping produce such an amazing human. And you are our team effort. We are a tag team for life, my wife and I, and we did a great job with both kids. So there you go. So here's to my wife and I and everyone else for having such a great daughter. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And my wife appreciates it as well. Folks, relax. It's okay. Cool. All right, folks. Now that the first part of the happy stuff is out of the way, we are now going to get into deeper subjects. So, some people, for a co-host and for someone to kind of dictate things and predominantly have a co-host or a co-anchor or something of that nature. Well, not on the F4L Headquarters Podcast. We have singing ants, folks. That's right, singing ants. So, ants, take us away to our first subject. Class is in session, folks. All right. A long time ago, early days of social media, I was visiting my brother and my then sister-in-law, and I was in the midst of what we call Talking Tuesday, which, by the way, happy Tuesday, everyone. Today is Talking Tuesday. And it was there that my sister-in-law made the suggestion that I should have a segment on YouTube, because that was when jazz fitness was at his height of his popularity, and I was all over social media at that point, in YouTube and everywhere else. And she suggested that I do a thing similar to what they did on Family Guy, where they called him Peter Grinds His Gears, where on the Family Guy, Peter Griffin was offered a position at the news channel where he would air his grievances or little things that annoyed him that he would offer commentary on the news. Now, granted, that is a cartoon and that is fictitious, but I say, I don't really like to dwell on the negativity in the world and things of that nature. And people who listen to this show know I try to keep things as positive as possible. Well, listen. And for the most part, that is 100% accurate, and it will always be that, because I have my integrity of how I work and how I operate, the things in which I believe, and, whatnot. That being said, I do have a breaking point, and I do have moments that do frustrate me. And I had told people that I was going to address this subject. I had hoped that they would have this themselves. Now, I'm going to take you back to a couple months ago to the beginning of this story. So, for those people who aren't aware, a while back I was working on helping develop a TV project for Netflix. An author friend of mine, where I still think, asked me if I could adapt his amazing book series into a TV series and sell it to Netflix. And using my writing ability and television knowledge and writing and script knowledge and filming and so forth, I said absolutely, I'm up to that challenge. And I explained to everyone from the get-go, this is how a successful team works: open communication, to be open and honest, all these things. That's what I said to everyone who was part of that early discussion when we first started mentioning it. And to everyone's surprise, it was only a little while later that those discussions is, can we do this? The balls were in motion to make this thing happen. And, the author and I put together, a great thing. We had casting call. We did a lot of casting. For the most part, we did via Zoom with all these amazing, talented people. And listen, I'm not going to hold people accountable for, nothing on their part. I mean, they had no knowledge of this early part of it. So I adapted the series to a book, I adapted the first book into a screenplay form. Now, in order to sell it to Netflix, what we decided to do is film the first pilot, taking a suggestion from a friend of mine, filming the pilot to bring with us to the pitch meeting, so we can show them what we're going to be doing, who the cast is, show them we know what we're doing. We were going to do that. I have connections in whatnot from my years of respect and whatever else in both industries. And for those people who don't know, I have a background in film. I've made independent films before. I've written television before for a major company. I've helped also with developmental. I've also aided in casting for some of the biggest films in the area. I've also helped with location scouting, and I've also done recommendations for like a lot of casting people or film people who are looking to cast for films who are friendly with me will ask me for recommendations, and I will give them based upon my knowledge of recognizing raw talents that not a lot of people might not be able to see. So because of that, I am someone who a lot of people respect in the industry. And I kind of master my craft on that respect. Another backstory to this is a long time ago when I first, graduated from film school. I had met someone who wanted to learn the industry while I was also helping to train people in pro wrestling. This was around the time of Jazz Fitness. And I brought that person on my sets and showed them the film industry. They asked me to write them a recommendation to go to film school, which I did. They went to film school, they worked on my set, I kind of took them under the wing. And long story short, that person tried to take the film project from me, lying to me, telling me that he had accepted a job offer in a Mexican television channel, Mexican news channel in LA, California. He didn't know when he was leaving, but he was going to be leaving soon, so he couldn't finish the film project, and he couldn't be the photographer for my wedding at that point. I was also planning. Now, the other part of that is I had taken some time off of social media because I was, one, focusing on my wife and my kid. Well, at that point, she was my fiance. We had been off and on together for years. As I like to say the most, and I've said this multiple times on this show, sometimes in life, folks, the person you were supposed to be with has been in front of you the whole time. And my wife is an amazing human being. I'm honored to have her, and I'm honored to be married to her. And when together, we have two amazing kids. That is our family. Those are my first priorities. So I took a break from social media because, all honesty, I devoted a lot of time to Facebook and minting with fans and working on the film project, working on this, working on that, working in wrestling, doing YouTube videos. And I don't have any complaints about that, taking some time off of social media. And I had discussed that with the person who was supposed to work on the film, who told me, that's when he told me on the porch of his house to my face, he accepted this job in LA, California. It was a Mexican news channel, and he didn't know when he was going to leave. It was going to be leaving soon. He couldn't finish the film project, and he couldn't do the photography for my wedding. But in reality, folks, he took the time while I was off of social media to basically hijack the film project, take the film that I had written, break it into several independent short films that he then put his name on, removed my involvement from everything, and then proceeded to sell these things to Amazon Prime. Yes, folks, this is a real thing in the film business. Unfortunately for him, he missed the class on copyright laws and the fact that I had everything copyrighted and I had everything protected. Unfortunately, that didn't go over well for him. So I have to tell you that story to go forward with this one. So, all honesty, that was one of my first introductions to the film business, that you can't trust people in the film business. Because I put a lot of time and effort into that. I've had a lot of great responses, and I am still very friendly with the people which I worked with on that film. Now, fun fact, those film projects, those short films that he had commandeered for himself and renamed or repackaged or whatever, they're still my characters. It doesn't matter because all the stuff is still mine. Unfortunately for him, that's the end of, he's not allowed to do those things. But because of that, that whole thing, I've always been kind of hesitant to go back into the film business. Or if I do make a film, I'm going to be solely working on it alone because I can't trust someone on set because of what just happened. Because, a lot of people who might not understand this, but you put a lot of time and effort into something, and then to see someone take what you did and then give you no credit for it and then take it for themselves. Well, not only did he take it for himself, he also used it for credits for his college class, which again, if someone writes your college paper and you turn it in, that's called plagiarism, folks. That's called, you didn't write it, it's plagiarism. It's not real. You didn't do the work, the effort, and you basically stole something work and passed it off on your own. That's plagiarism, folks. 101. And that's what this person did. But if you're wondering, what happened to these films on Amazon? Well, they're still on there. And why are they allowed on Amazon still? If I had already, taken action to make sure that he is not able to steal my work anymore or take credit for these things. Well, the reason being is because of all of those people who sacrificed time and effort to come on my sets. All the people who auditioned for my film, all the people who gave up time and effort to be on set for hours on end, all the people who worked behind the scenes, around the scenes, my friends who offered us places to film in these locations. So that is why I never had them pulled from Amazon. Because of all of the actors and the performers and all of the people who took their little parts in making this thing happen, because I have respect for them, because they had a belief in my system. And I don't believe they had any idea what was going on. And to be fair, I never really heard what the other side of that story was. If you'll remember back, a while back, I had my cousin Shaheem Blue on. And Shaheem, who was very much aware of the film project that I was working on, who did in fact talk with Dan Groom, which is the name of the person who I was talking to, and who was working on the film with me, he had told him that no one has heard from me, including my wife, even though we were planning a wedding together. So that's a story he told him, but who knows what he told the actors who were very much aware that I was already on set, because I'm the one who casted them all. Dan recorded all of the auditions. I, made the final call. I took his suggestions. A couple of them, honestly, could have been a little different. We could have had some interesting things. We had a different opinion on who we should and shouldn't cast. But in the end of the day, it was something that I had worked hard on. But because of all those people who took time and effort into coming in auditioning, I, of course, out of respect for them, will allow those things to be up there because of all of those people. Not him, but all of the people who gave the time and energy to be part of that project. There was a lot of work that went into that. Almost 3 years of working on that project. And I'm not about to have anybody lose any kind of credits that they worked on that film just because someone else was deceitful on their end. That's the first thing. This is why when author approached me, we're going to address the elephant in the room. We all know of this project that I'm talking about. When he approached me and we had the early meetings, I said, this is why we need to have open and honest conversations. And everything needs to be up there. Any conversation needs to be there. Brutal honesty, right? This is what I said over and over again. Now, we had set everything up. We did all these auditions. We had everyone casted that we needed casted. I had already had the pilot already written, the episode. But it was basically a combination of 2 scenes, which actually 2 chapters built into one. But that was going to be the first episode because I thought it was a great starting point. Well, that was about to happen, and we had to find locations. There was a lot of work that goes on to that. Anyone who's ever been part of any kind of project kind of can understand a lot of that. I brought them the idea of crowdfunding, which they were doing, and they're continuing to do the crowdfunding. So we had set up a thing. We had already had several meetings with all of the parents to be part of the Zoom meetings, because I believe, again, in open honesty. I believe in a team effort. I believe it to be light and family-like atmosphere on set. That's how I run my sets. I say these things all the time. Well, the night before we were supposed to have what would have been the first time everyone got to meet everyone via Zoom, I was talking to the author who asked me about something that someone has sent him. This thing was this bogus report that I have only been aware of since 2019, when I was put into a Hall of Fame that I was inducted into. So I had no idea this thing was even out there, because apparently this has been out there twice that we know of. And this is a bogus report. But what happened was, he was sent this, and this thing went around to all these people who I'm supposed to be working on this project with, that gave them this impression of me all of a sudden, that they questioned everything I said all of a sudden, even though everything I've said up to that point was accurate and everything went down exactly the way it was supposed to go down. They wanted me to leave the project. Well, actually, what they said was they were going to leave the project if I stayed on. But I said, if I leave the project and leave you in charge, will they stay on to save your project? And he said, well, if you're not there, yes, they will stay on the project. So I left the TV project that I helped headline and anchor from the beginning. And I had reached out to friends of mine. People have heard about this via early on. And some connections I had heard about this awesome project that I was working into, and they wanted to help out. And so here's where this thing comes into play. This bogus thing that people took to be serious apparently is what happened. I had someone who works for a high office look at this document and, look at this authenticity of this, because I knew it to be fake. I work in numerous platforms, and I work in numerous positions that revolve around safety and so forth. I have 2 kids myself. I work in schools where I do a lot of lectures and guest things about anti-bullying campaigns. I spoke at the high school. I did my commencement speech, my high school graduation. That's one of the reasons I got to speak at my graduation, is because of the respect I have from all the teachers and the people continuing to ask me to come back to the school. So I work with the schools. I was the Youth Human Rights Officer for all the youth programs in the area. I have numerous different positions where I am constantly checked for all of everything, as I should be. I work for an entertainment venue. I work for a convention. And I work in film, and I have a podcast, I have the YouTube show. To do all those things, you need to have a background. You have to have a thing. I worked in human services, where I worked for a day program. So when you do these things, you're given what's called a CORI, a criminal background check, where, they'll put your name in, they'll put your information, and they'll look up to see if you've ever done anything wrong or if you have a criminal history. And I have submitted 3. I showed these people 3 different, I kid you not, I gave these people, all of this team, the author, all of the people I worked in the film with, these documents showing that I am clear and there's nothing on my background. Yet they still wanted nothing to do with it and whatever else. So I left the project to make sure it would safeguard the author, who told me that all these other issues are happening and, whatever else. So because I felt bad for the author and his situation, because I'm a family man myself, I stepped out of the TV project. And the film project went on as it was supposed to. I guess they went and filmed in the area they were supposed to. And mind you, I'm the one who linked him together with the Tennessee Film Commission and all these other things. But regardless, I don't care about that. What I do care about is my name being dragged through the mud and people who have these opinions that are unwarranted. I reached out to people individually who I had a lot of respect for, and they want no part of it, which I understand, and they took a stance where we'd rather be safe than sorry. That's a disrespect to me, but it's fine. But what I'm going to do right now is read you all. So now, mind you, also, I had told the author several times, I'm going to send you a copy of this report so you can see it yourself. And I had done this, and I had gotten 3 RTSs, which is return to senders. I don't know what the problem is. I've checked the address with him, and it's come back RTS. I can't explain it, but it's come back 3 times RTS. I am going to now read. I had told him what I wanted to do is make sure he could read it as well first before I read it live on this podcast, because I have nothing to fear, and I'm tired of this bogus report going out there, people taking this stupid thing to task. Okay, so there's that. However, because it was sent back RTS 3 times, that's it. I've attempted to share that with him, but I'm not going to keep this from my public anymore. And I'm tired of listening to this. And I'm going to get this out once and for all, as I'm going to now give you the report that I received on this document that people took so seriously. So excuse me as I take a sip of my water as I read you this document that has basically, the report that was given out had some very nasty things that they were accusing me of. Things that make no sense whatsoever to any general person. Anyone who knows me could tell you none of those things are accurate, and considering all of the things in which I work in, the fact that I have a wife and kids and everything else, it's just preposterous. But anyway, let's read this. So this is the final analysis, as they call it, on document 5239999. And it's documented by James Hooley on 5/14/23. That's when this report was done. That's how long I've had this thing for, folks. Since May, I've had to hold on to this and not share this with you guys because I was waiting for the author to read it first. But whatever, he was busy dealing with whatever, so let me be the one to give this to you. So this is the final report on this and the results, and here it goes. So basically, they went through this document, and what he did is he highlighted the things that, his opinions on things, and kind of highlighted things, redlined things, or whatever else. So I'm not a legal person. I got to be honest with you guys. I don't know much about the legal world, and this whole thing I have no knowledge of. And again, this document has kind of fluctuated all over the place since 2019, and kind of ridiculous. But anyway, let's get into this. So again, fair warning, this is going to have some very personal moments, and so bear with me. Okay, so item 1, based upon our records and document titled Case 5293999, which was done as part of a separate case study, case study 373-Mass M-577 and 369-N.E.2D. Both of these dated 1977. Mr. Stevens was born on March 23rd, 1980 at St. Margaret's Hospital in Boston, Massachusetts. There is no way Mr. Stevens would be involved in any case prior to his date of birth. Item 2, same date, states that me, with the name Sean Patrick Stevens, the year 2017, is when this document was supposedly originated from. However, according to court documents, that is according to court documents, Mr. Stevens was awarded emancipation as of September 14th, 1997. Mr. Stevens had his name changed to reflect the Sean Jazz Stevens. So, if a document is in 2017 with Sean Patrick Stevens, it is not accurate because that is not my name legally, folks. That's what that summarizes to mean. I am Sean Jazz Stevens. Look at the name of this podcast. Look at the name of anything else. Thank you very much. Anyway, that was my side comments. just initiated that. And it is true. I was emancipated in 1997, which I was 17. I told you guys that. And my name was changed. So there you go. And then it goes on. Overwhelming lack. So this is item number 3. That was 2. Item number 3. It's overwhelming lack of actual font, structure, terminology, grammar that is inconsistent with any court document. 4. We believe the document was generated from an Apple Pro, originated on October 9th, 2018. Then again on April 2nd, 2023, from the same source. It would appear that they had simply erased the original court case number and replaced them with the 2 mentioned reports. By adding the names is not possible within this timeline. Here's what that says. Hold on, scrolling down here. The attorney assigned is not consistent with our records, as the attorney mentioned is a small attorney out of Detroit, Michigan, whom deals with small matters which would not be assigned to such a case. Even if it was possible, these cases originated from 1977, and the attorney that was supposedly representing me was born on February 10th, 1987, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So the person could not write such a document, folks, if he wasn't born when these cases supposedly started. And by the way, I don't live in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, or Detroit, Michigan. Thank you very much. And final, upon the investigation of this, titled Interviewing Several Parties, we have come to the conclusion this document was in fact used to put together from a few parties of interest. And they mention, I'm not going to say their names, as I don't want them to get any more press than they already are getting. But they know who they are. There are 3 names mentioned. They're all people who are associated with my legacy and my family. But anyway, I'm going to skip over the names. But anyone who knows anything about my mother's case can tell you who they are. It basically, to summarize this long part, it was a combination effort of the person who took my mother's life, along with people who lived with my aunt and uncle, as well as the person who originally was reached out to via Facebook, and a person who would have the gripe, and that was my former film associate, because that was around the time that the copyright lawsuit was going on, which is why he would have grievance, which is why that makes sense. And also, the reason why they would have the old name is if they got it from my uncle, which they would have only the old documents. They wouldn't have the updated ones, as I have not lived with my aunt and uncle. So basically what happened was this person who lived there went and found an old something that had my old name that hasn't been my name since 1997, and they tried to basically throw that there like it's something documented, but that is in fact not my legal name. Sean Jazz Stevens, thank you very much, is my name. Alright, so someone had tipped them off to whom was involved, as they saw these messages being exchanged between the 2 parties, which is how they notified the individuals responsible. There was the brother of the person who was in question, who had paid for the services of the former associate to document these things and put these things together. Is how that worked. which is why the copy and paste nonsense. It was Apple Pro. I don't have. So anyway, the final thing here is this is the final words of the person doing the thing. Upon Mr. Stevens' request, I myself conducted a full Corey check going back as far as I could. All results returned the same as one he had previously given. He has no criminal record of any time. This document mentioned in this report is without question fraudulent in nature. That being the case, anyone whom uses this document in a way to slander Mr. Stevens in any way for personal gain or any other reason shall be seen as harassment, will be risking a defamation character lawsuit of a state and government official, because that is the punishment for such things in which these matters attend. I will include a list of his accomplishments if you choose to see what we have on Mr. Stevens. So basically what they did is that he went and ran my name, and when he did his background Corey thing, what happens is anything that is labeled under me or associated to me with them in their files will be attached. When he did so, a lot of my citations I had forgotten about. A citation, for those people who don't know, sometimes when you do something for a city or a town, or when you do things like a charity thing, they will acknowledge you and they give you what's called a city citation. One of them I did remember, just because the ongoing joke is I can't even go to the beach and enjoy myself. There always has to be some ridiculous thing happening. That's how it works, unfortunately. And that incident was in Hull. The city of Hull gave me a citation for act of heroism. I didn't think of anything of it really, but basically that one I remembered. That was the incident at the beach where my sister, her boyfriend, my friend, my longtime best friend Kirsten, we were all at the beach, and we're getting ready to leave, and as I go into the men's room to leave, there's some weird things going on. That weird thing is there was a gentleman who was in the restroom who was peering into a stall. And I wasn't aware of what was going on. I didn't know what was really happening. I was the only one in there at the time. And the next thing I knew, that this kid came out of the stall. He was coming out of the stall. The guy pushed him back in, and the kid tried to yell, and the guy held him, covered his mouth. At that point, because I was the only one there, I didn't think twice. I just jumped in and grabbed the guy, and I told the kid to go grab his parents and get the parents and whatever else, and get the police or whatever. And which he did, and I held the guy until both the police, which at that point was the beach police, the patrol or whatever, and then the kid's parents or whatever. And so needless to say, that one I remembered because like I said, the ongoing joke is I can't even go to the beach without having to get involved in someone else's issues. But I didn't think twice. I didn't know what the case was. I just knew the guy was threatening did something. It seemed off to me anyway. And when the kid tried yelling, the guy put him in there. I didn't think twice. I just grabbed the guy and held him until police arrived and whatever else. Right after that, there was a whole thing where the City Hall recognized me for such things, and the kid's parents thanked me. Come to find out, the guy had a knife on him, which we don't know what that was for. Thankfully, we'll never will. I don't know whatever happened to that, to be honest, with that whole case, because I honestly, that was in 2004, that incident. So that was going back a little ways. So I don't remember whatever happened to that whole thing. I don't know what happened to the guy, but I know the kid's safe, and his parents were, thankful of that. And I was happy that I was there. I just wish, it just was awkward that I had to be the only one there at the time. And, a lot of people credited me for that. And, of course, another one I mentioned recently was when I was working for a day program in 2013. We were giving out waters in Boston at the marathon. And when incidents happened, I ran to see if I could help. After I made sure everyone in the group was okay, I ran to see if I could help the people where the explosions came from, just because that's my instinct. So those things were in that basic report. So I'm not going to bore you with all of those because it's not about, tooting my own horn, and I don't want to sit there and read off those. There was another citation for the city of Weymouth in Braintree for helping a girl in a bad situation. I was also recognized for helping prevent violence in Quincy. And as I mentioned, I am one of the go-to people to address schools and assemblies for bullying. My long-time acts of anti-bullying campaign, my war on bullies, if you would. There's a lot of mentions of that. In 2013, I was recognized as the National Brother of the Year by Big Brother Big Sister for my involvement working for that organization. I did that for a long time. I got recognized from them in 2013. I was recognized as National Brother of the Year. Was awarded that by, at that point, I think it was Vice President Biden, I want to say. I think it was Biden at that time. So that's basically what was in that part. So that is the report. That is the findings from the report that was supposedly on me. And I got to say, as someone who would read it, I would be annoyed I would be concerned if it was someone that I didn't know. But here's the thing: what happened? Someone saw this. Rather than bring it up to me, they brought it up to 6, 7 other people to cause hysteria. No one brought it up to me. No one asked me any questions. And then when I was asked, I gave them I told them what I knew about this. I told them when I found out about it. I gave them all a lengthy email explaining what I knew of this situation. I told them I was going to have this looked into, which is what I did. So that is that project. So I left the TV project, and they filmed the project, and here's the thing. These people who I helped cast and brought into this thing, that I brought in part of this team, they all previously worked together. They have not worked with me before. But I got to tell you, I did a lot of work on this because I believed in this project. Because I have connections with people who also believe in me, who know that I know talent, who I know what's going to work. Because I had faith in this. People, very high-end people, were going to help out with this. But when these people wanted me out of this, they don't want me there, they don't want me part of it, they're going to have someone else take care of these things, my friends are reluctant to want to get involved now. Because they find it a little insulting that so many people, mind you, they still want my friends to help them sponsor their project, even though I'm not associated with this project anymore. So I have, I'm caught in a rock and a hard place because my friends who I've known for many, many years, who know me very well, who I've earned a respect from, who I've earned a rapport with, they're telling me that these people are, basically using me, they're trying to manipulate me. They wanted me out of a project, but yet they still want my help from outside of the thing. I'm the one that gave them the tools for this. But I don't, see, here's the thing. I still believe in the project, which is why I still tell people, if you can help Hellman Elementary, go help them. The Bizarre Events at Hellman Elementary is still trying to get donations, to still try to get things going to complete this project. I do think people should still help the project. Because I still believe in the project. But because I have that commitment, because I have that loyalty, even though I'm not shown this loyalty in return by anyone. And I gotta say, I'm really disappointed by people who I would have thought I could, I didn't have to worry about. I didn't have to. I would have thought I would have someone batting for me. But you know what? Here's the thing. I got to thinking, and a couple of weeks ago, my friends, a couple of my friends and I got together. One of them being one of the people who were going to help out, and going over the situation, and we were laughing about the report and all these other things, and we were talking about other types of things, and they were like, well, they don't want you to be part of the project, but they still want you to do all these other things. They still want us to help them. What do they think? We were just gonna, see, what happened was, these people are people who have been around the film world and have some pretty good names, but I've earned a respect from these people because I've known them for years. And yeah, they were going to stop by the sets when I was going to be working on the set, but they're not stopping by the sets to see these people because they're not there for them. They were there to see me succeed and do what I do best. And when I reached out to the author several times. I did reach out to the author after I would have thought they were done, filming. And anytime I did reach out to him, hear from him, he was panicked. It was stressful. And that's not how I run a set. And that kind of hurts my heart to hear that it was so stressful for him. Because if I was on a set, there wouldn't be no stress. I don't run a stressful set. Now, I understand they had someone else come in and do the directing and the filming, and that's great. But this puts me in a rock and a hard place with the people I have known for years versus these new people who don't think they need me anyway. And you know what? I think that this project can succeed without us. And I think it's best that I just worry about what we're going to do. Because I can't be in the middle between people who I am just meeting who obviously don't have any loyalty to me. Who obviously, it's kind of like one of these things, right? Even though I've already proven multiple times that I know what I'm talking about, I already proved multiple times that I am, that this thing is possible, that I believed in all these things and everything else, that I not only did that, but then they still, so now that I'm not part of the project anymore, if my friends don't help them out, they're not going to believe anything else, even though I've already proven everything else I've already done and proved already. So it's kind of like, we don't want you around, but we want your friends' money, is what that is. And my friends, especially my friend's wife is absolutely floored that these people would... number one, they wanted me so quickly out of this project, but then as soon as I was out of the project, they still want my friends to help them with the project. I believed in this project. I believe in the people involved. I helped put this team together. And I'm sorry that, people believed these fictitious things. And if that, makes you, if that, whatever the case may be, if this puts you, whatever, it is what it is. If you don't want me part of this whole thing, my friends shouldn't be in question either. If you don't need me or any of that, you don't need my friends to help you because you guys know it all already. You guys already have this done. You have a fan base. You have all that stuff. So I don't want to give out any other personal information about the situation. I might know more than I should. I do know that another person who tried to, cause this trouble on me, tried to do the same thing with one of the other big people involved. And here's the question I want to raise to everyone. If that wasn't true, right, which everyone knows that's not true, then why was I ever questioned? If you know what's being said about that person isn't true, why is something that is fictitious that I have proven several times in the same thing, multiple ways, isn't true? Why is that not taken? So as far as I'm concerned, because of the lack of trust, because I have said numerous times during my time working on this project, you need open, honest conversation. You need to be blunt and honest. So here's some blunt and honest feedback. I gave what I gave to this project. It took time from my other projects that I work on. It took time away from my podcast, this podcast, which reaches people all the time, which I missed my 3-year anniversary on the month because I was working on this project. I had to miss time working on the YouTube show, which my son and I work on a regular basis. Now, maybe to some that's not a big deal, but to the many people, which in a little bit I'm going to read some emails from our fans who watch our show on a regular basis, who cheer our computerized versions of real-life icons of the F4L. The fact that I have to worry that the whole time people were filming they were just bad-mouthing me is a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm not going to lie to you, my friends who I was with were the ones who kind of helped plant those seeds. How can I not know that? I'm going to tell you one of the things that gave me a red flag. Almost immediately after that, I got a weird message from someone who I have such respect for. And it was taken in the context that made me seem like I was taking advantage and not to... that I am now rocked by just disappointed that I have so much faith in people and that so many people somehow have this opinion of me. The fact that people were sitting around who knows what, talking about who knows what. I'm glad everyone had a good time. That's the idea of making a film. That's what I achieved for a set. I don't know why it was stressful on the person on the other side, because I heard it was a stressful time. So I don't know what's going on. But here's what I do know. Because I am loyal to my friends, and my friends who have known me for a long time, much like this group are friends with each other, and they've known each other a long time, and they trust each other, I think it is best that I listen to my friends I've known for a long time and not get myself involved anymore. I want to point out that I gave these people an opportunity to let me know if I should say or not, if they're going to leave these things. Collectively, they all agreed that I should not be there. If you don't want my help, you don't want my friends' help. Okay? Sorry if it sounds harsh. I have been going back and forth with my longtime friends over this issue. It's torn me up because I believe in the project. I believe in the people involved because I helped cast them. I helped write it. I believe in the author. I believe in the team. I don't care if they don't believe in me or not. But the fact that everything I said that should happen has happened, and it's worked that far. I gave them the tools. They can take it from there. So that's kind of where my stance is. I had to get this off my chest because I'm tired of this plaguing me. I'm tired of being kind of put in this situation where my older friends, my friends I've known for a long time, it's like, what are they doing? Why do you want to help still? They don't want you to be there, but they want us to help. So I'm not going to hound my friends to help them because they have enough people that can do it on their own. They've proven that. And it's too bad because I still believe in this project. And again, just my friends and I are walking away completely. We're done. But we do encourage people to still help this project. We're walking away strictly because of the disrespect and the fact that I can't go with people who don't respect me. My friends aren't going to go with people who don't respect me either. But I wish them the very best of luck in their project. I believe in this project. I believe in the people involved. Okay? But since so many of them want to listen to the hype and they wanted to put me in this picture, c'est la vie. I reached out to someone early on when this whole thing was coming around, and in the middle I was getting this thing checked out, and where I was waiting for the results to come back from the report. I reached out to someone that I was paying a subscription for to be a follower, to be a friend, right? A follower. pretty big name in the world of social media, right? And I paid to be part of a subscription because I believed in him. I like what their message is. And the response I got was, no, we don't really want to get involved in all these things and whatever else. And because I don't know if they're around in this group now talking badly about me or not, I can't trust that. That's why I want nothing to do. I unfollowed everyone who was part of that project, with the exception of the author. It is hard for me when I see updates when I was seeing the updates from this, and I was happy that it was going well, the filming, and I was happy that the relationships were going. That's happy to me because that's the way a set should be. But part of me was nagging because I always believed that's the way it should have been to begin with. And it wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for a part of my involvement. So, as far as I'm concerned, I have no hard feelings. I'm all set. I believe in them. And I wish them the very best of luck. But we're out. Collectively. Because, my friends are right. I mean, I get that these people have been friends for years or whatever, and that's cool. You have your own little group. I gave you the tools. Take it from there. So, that's my thoughts on two things. That's the reports on this stupid report that was people. How many? There were like 4 or 5 different articles on that highlighted that are issues right off the bat. Names, when they were taken from, before I was even born. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see the nonsense. They highlighted parts that were copy and pasted. The format's wrong. But you know what? Again, I'm glad I got to say this finally. I'm done with it. I don't want to hear any more about it. But I want to let people know that if I do hear about it again, and if someone tries to bring this nonsense again, I'm going to reach out to those people. And I'm going to reach out to the people who did this report, who are a high office, folks. The highest of high offices. I don't know why the author didn't read it. I did send it. Was returned to sender 3 times. I don't know why. First came from another address. This one, 2 of them came from the right address. I'd be happy to email him a copy of this if he hears this. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with this whole thing. I've done more for this than I should have ever. I hope nothing but the best. But I'm not a fool. And since all these people can do it without me, do it without me. You wanted me out of there, and I'm out of there. That includes me and all of my connections too. And this story on that. So thank you. And again, I'm sorry if that sounds like I'm being cruel or I'm being harsh. But the feeling to know that I, from day one, said open and honest, and no one could do that. I was open and honest, everyone decided to talk around me. And then everyone made up their own minds on something bogus. So, I'm out. My friends are out. Thank you very much. Best of luck with everything. We hope nothing but the best. We're all set on that end. So now, that being said, let's get into our next segment. Thank you. Ants, take us away. All right, everyone. Welcome back to next segment. Can you believe we're already in segment number 3? Probably not. Probably didn't even notice the transition. It's cool, though. All right, folks. Now, we're going to have some fun because right now, we're going to respond to emails from our fans, from our icons. Thank you very much. I know. Oh my. Goodness me. Thank you. All right. All right, folks. So we get email. We're responding to Icons of the F4L. That is our YouTube show that my son and I started years ago, originally called Jazz and Sons Dream Matches. Now it's called Icons of the F4L. It's amazing how this show has evolved from what it began as. Oopsie, as my microphone falls, but whatever. It's cool. It's amazing to see where the show started from and what it is now. When we first started Jazz and Sons Dream Matches, it was exactly what it sounded like. I've told the story before how it began. My son was homesick from school, and to cheer him up, using the wrestling game, I built Peter Griffin and Homer Simpson using the Creator Wrestler mode. And then we found out that the game system will play out the match without us actually having to play it in demo mode. And then we basically did the commentary. My son suggested we should post this on YouTube at the time. And I said, no one's going to want to watch video game stuff on YouTube. Even though at that point, Jazz Fitness was already on YouTube, my son said we should put this match on YouTube. People are going to want to see who would win between Peter Griffin and Homer Simpson. Let people know that we're not playing the game, and now we'll find out once and for all who's better. And this was prior to the episode where the Simpsons and the Griffins cross paths. So as always, goes to show kids know everything, I guess, when it comes to technology, because it turns out he was right. And then that match would snowball into other, quote, dream matches. And then we started getting fan requests from people who wanted to see certain matches. They wanted to see who would win between the Hulk and Juggernaut, the Hulk and the Thing. And then they wanted to see what would happen if the Hulk and the Thing teamed up. Could they beat Bane and Doomsday as a team from DC? Can Superman beat Captain America? You know, these are things prior to us. There was really no way to prove once and for all who was better, because most of the time in a video game, someone's playing the game to, decide the outcome, right? Well, needless to say, years later, and by the way, it's YouTube who credits us with being the originators of this format and this genre. Other people have gone on to do this a lot more, and they make the created wrestler thing a lot more elaborate than what we do. We still do our cause. We still do some very original things. I do have rules set by my son on me where I'm not allowed to build anyone or anything after 12 o'clock at night. That rule is in place because my son usually was in bed, and sometimes at night my imagination kind of gets the better of me. And my son would wake up the next day and he'd find a new wrestling character named, Pepto-Bismol, which was a character who was a giant Pepto-Bismol bottle, because I wanted to see how funny that would be. And he had a match against a guy named Alka-Seltzer. You get it. So my son, to prevent those things from happening and those ridiculous carriations, he said I'm not allowed to build anyone or anything after midnight. At that point he was asleep. Well, years later, my son's now. That was when he was 11. We started the show. He put that rule on me when he was about 12. So it only took him a month to put that rule on me, because I started letting the creativity go. I can build people with a video game system pretty decently, convincing, without doing the whole copy of paste and a face and all these other things. I gotta say, we always welcome the fact that there's a community now of creators, which is awesome. We're also, just so people know, if you're one of these people who do a video game thing where you have matches, we're usually sent it by YouTube to make sure then you're not crossing our bounds on copyrights. But we don't care that other people are doing a similar thing, because everyone has their own take on it, and we don't mind that people do it. We actually think it's great. We like some of the people who do those things outside of it. I think there's some very creative people out there, way much more time than I do to really go into detail, so I give credit to those people. But the fact still remains that we're the ones who originated this whole thing. And what makes our show still different is the fact that we still have no control of our outcomes. We don't know who's going to win and lose. We call the action as you see it. Just like you would have a commentary team. Now, early on, when it was when it was Jazz and Sons Dream Matches, and then it was Dream Masters, we added the Dream Warriors, which is our female roster. We were doing commentary together, and we still, we decide on the roster and the matches and the titles and so forth. But now this has kind of changed, where now I'm, for the most part, doing a lot of the commentary by myself. But don't think that he still doesn't have say in things, because he's still making recommendations on who comes and goes and whatnot. He also has a lot of say in various things, like we still, agree upon the Jazz and Sons Hall of Fame. We do that every year around the end of February is when our original show was. So that's kind of where we started, and that's when we put up the, whatever the year is, Hall of Fame. This year's inductees, 2023, was before, the first class, of course, had the most. Then we decided we really should only have like 4 different, genres. So we have a tag team, we have a Dream Master, which is a male, a Dream Warrior, which is a female, a tag team, and a faction is how we broke it down. And this year's inductees, it could only be on our show that we would do this, but the people inducted this year are St. Peggy Hannon for the Dream Warriors, the unpredictable one himself, Brock Brown, for the Dream Masters, the Social Outcast as the faction. That, of course, is Brock Brown's group, in fact, so he's now a 2-time Hall of Famer. Along with him is Little Sweet from the Dr. Pepper Smokeman, the Noid, and Toxie, the Toxic Avenger. All are part of that group. And in addition to that is Fire and Ice, the tag team of Scorpion and Sub-Zero that we put together years ago, that Ed Boon liked so much, that idea that if you've ever played Mortal Kombat 11, they actually refer to Scorpion and Sub-Zero as Fire and Ice. We named them that years ago before, and here they are. And we're very happy with that. Anyway, I had to tell you the origin, I guess, of Icons of the F4L. Because this is going to be shown on my channel, you can find our videos and our matches here. To be fair, we have had various different channels with this show. We've been doing this a long time. Again, he was 11 when we started. He's going to be 21 in November, so I'll let you guys do the math on that one. I'm not going to do it because it's too late at the day. That being said, let's get... that being said, one of the things that we break kind of the different responsibilities, right? Yes, we agree upon the roster and who should go where and whatnot, and he'll give suggestions on who should be where and whatnot. That's still a thing. But for the emails, I still get the emails, and I'm still responsible for that, because again, when we started this, he was 11. I'm not going to have people emailing my son. So together we usually respond to the emails. We talk about them together, and then I'll respond to them. But they go to my email for the show. Now again, if you guys ever have a suggestion or a match you want to see happen, if you want to be on our show, you want to be an icon, then you can, and if you have a question about our show, Icons of the F4L, you can reach me at WOWDreammatches, DREAMMATCHES @gmail.com. That's WOWDREAMMATCHES @gmail.com. And that's where you can email us, which is where multiple people have over the years, which is where we get our emails from, and we get a variety of them on a regular basis. So this one will be fun because we're going to be emailing and trying to answer our best questions for you. Okay. So the first one comes from Elliot from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Oddly enough. So Elliot wants to know, We've had the MMA tournament for the Dream Masters back in June. That was our open MMA Dream Masters thing. There was supposed to be a Dream Warriors one, which is going to take place. We are just finalizing the final participants for the Dream Warriors. That's our female version. But what Elliot wants to know is, what is the next tournament that should be coming up? Or what we should have to look forward to, is what it says. What is the next tournament or whatnot in mind that we can look forward to, is what it says. So Elliot, well, August is always usually our open tag team tournament, which is a two-person thing. Last year, if you guys remember, that's where Philip Ricardo Jr., the natural bodybuilding champion, made his debut, as he teamed with JoJo the bodybuilder, who was the very first Grand Slam champion on our show. Also one of our favorite people on the show, too. JoJo the bodybuilder and Philip Ricardo Jr. debuted as a team, and at that point, JoJo didn't even know that he was his partner. So that was kind of a surprise to him, and we enjoyed. That's where Philip Ricardo Jr. came in. In fact, that being said, that reminds me, I'm going to have to reach out to Philip, because his anniversary is coming up. Not only being on this show, but also being part of the icons of the F4L for 1 year, folks. We have some anniversaries coming up. We have a lot of people who are starting up around this time. Those people include Philip Ricardo Jr., who started last year. Also who started last year, Grayson, the Super Duck Russell. Walker Campbell, or as we call him, the Total Package Walker Campbell. Because, he is so talented. He doesn't fit in any one category. He's got multiple things he can do, which is why Walker is the Total Package Walker Campbell now. They all started around the same time. So Walker and Grayson, the Super Duck Russell, their anniversary is coming up. Philip Ricardo Jr. is coming up, and Angela Russell is coming up as well. Angela, as we call her now, Mama Bear, Angela Russell, the current women's Dream Masters, the Dream Warriors BA MMA Grand Prix champion. And Grayson is actually the #1 contender for the Dream Masters BA MMA Grand Prix Championship. In fact, the next title defense that the current champion, Noah the Nightmare Tyndall, has, he is defending against the Super Duck. And anyone who has ever seen these two wrestle each other before, I'm going to tell you, you're going to be in for a treat. That's going to be a war between those two. I'm going to guarantee it right now. I'm going to say good luck to anyone who's going to follow that match. But anyway, to answer your question, Elliot, is to answer your question, we have the tag team tournament coming up in August. We have that every year. We have our standard Team Warfare tournament that takes place in November. But in addition, I think this year we're going to be doing another one. We're thinking about doing a comic book or a superhero versus supervillain tournament. Looking for suggestions from the audience, obviously, our fans, perhaps you, Elliot. Who would you guys want to see for a comic book or a superhero tournament? Should we go with the traditional ones, who is better than who, or should we go with the lesser-known people? I'm thinking we're probably going to have 40 total participants. That would be 20 good guys, 20 bad guys broken up into, or villains, broken between both Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, and whatnot. So I don't know. Who would you guys want to see in this tournament? Who do you guys think would win in an ultimate superhero tournament? And as far as the tag team tournament goes, we have a lot of great tag teams already. I mean, we have, the Brooks Brothers Incorporated. We have the Lucky Ones. On Monday night alone, Mondays, or the Universal bracket, I should say, we have the Lucky Ones. We have the Brooks Brothers Incorporated, the Awesome Ones, the Smooth Operators, Pod meets world. The Kiwis, which is the New Zealand family, that's Sam and Denzi, that's the males, and the women are going to be making their debut on the 24th, which is coming up in a couple days, folks. So make sure you tune in on the 24th for that mega show, as you're going to see all 4 of the New Zealand family in action. 2 separate matches. Cool stuff. Yeah, so there's a lot of great tag teams over there. And then, of course, on the flip side of that, you have the BA MMA division. And on that division, you have teams like the Menya Boys, the Dell Boys. 4 of the 2 groups are just too tough to begin with on the level. And then you have the Insane Clown Posse, ICP. You got the Ministry. That, of course, is Cosplay Jesus and Father Evil, who are making their debut, or making their return, rather, very soon, as well as the Viking Juggalos, the F4L, the Blood Brothers. They're over on that show as well. So, and there's teams flowing in between that. And, of course, the team that returned recently because they feel slated because they weren't inducted into the Hall of Fame is Bane and Doomsday, The World's End. Again, throw it back to the originals. But, yeah, so that's a tournament going to happen in August, is our tag team tournament. But we're thinking about doing the superhero thing, but I'm wondering if we should have the traditional superheroes going at it, broken into the genres, or should we do maybe the lesser-known people, give other people a chance? Who is the best of the B characters of Marvel and DC or Image or whatnot? How many people know who Spawn is? Ghost Rider, Moon Knight. Well, now maybe people do because of the TV shows or whatever, but comic book fans everywhere would probably know them from other things, I'm sure. Anywho, that's the thing there. But anyway, I hope that answers your question, Elliot. We're going to have a couple tournaments coming up. We're hopefully going to plan our superhero tournament, Ultimate, in probably September, we're looking at. We may do an icon of horror in October in honor of Halloween. We have not done one of those. And if I'm being honest, I think that would be epic. We'd probably have it in the Monster Mania Con Arena, which is going to be our next segment coming up soon. So, that's right, folks. Bear with us as we're about to talk about in our next segment. But I still have a couple more emails I want to get to before we go into addressing Monster Mania, which is coming up also very, very soon. Excellent. All right. Next question we had is, we got a question from Erin. Erin from Mississippi. And Erin wants to know how long it takes to put together a match card. And Erin, let me tell you, a match card can take anywhere from, well, if I'm being honest, the hardest match card is probably the first show of the month. Because honestly, that's where the fresh stuff happens. And then kind of everything else kind of follows suit after that. I'll explain why. So, for example, the first month, so for those people who don't know our schedule, normally for our icons, and I gotta say, I do want to apologize to our Dream Warriors, because I feel like the 16th obviously didn't happen this time because of my daughter's birthday. No offense, happy birthday, my pumpkin again, who's also on our show, by the way, but anyway. But in general, the first show of the month, our schedule goes the 4th, then 8th, 4th, 9th, 14th, 16th, 24th. Those are our shows in a month. So the 4th and so for the Dream Masters, you got the 4th and the 14th. For the Dream Warriors, the 6th and the 9th and the 16th. If that makes any sense. And then in the last show of the month is the 24th. And that's going to be a combination of both shows, and it's going to be one mega show, because it's going to combine both the Dream Warriors and the Dream Masters. And that's ultimately to blow off the final thing of the month. One of the things we pride ourselves on is the fact that we don't like to, have the same matches over and over again, the same competitors over and over again, because why? It gets stale, it gets boring. But in all honesty, because there's so many very talented, deserving people, who are we to keep them from, appearing or whatever else? So we constantly have to add in, whatever else. So honestly, the first show of the month is the longest because we have to basically start whatever we're going to do. So sometimes on the 24th, sometimes the first show of the month is either establishing who is going to challenge for the title, or it's defending the title, and then depending on the results of that, it would either carry over or whatnot. One of the we go by the 3-strike rule. Well, it's 3-strike rule. It's a little less than that. So basically, one of the biggest annoyances in wrestling, right, is that a lot of the time when it comes to various different wrestling organizations, they'll have the same people competing for the championships over and over and over again. Me and my son and I, we don't like giving people the same old song and dance and the same things over and over again. We believe in giving people an opportunity. We have so many talented people on our roster that everyone deserves at least one title match, right? Everyone deserves a moment to shine in the sun. That's our opinion. And that's our belief, and that's the way it should be anyway. So that being said, that's kind of, how we go by that. So what happens is a champion will defend against the challenger on the 1st. Now, let's say the challenger will defeat the champion. Well, now the champion has an opportunity, is the first person who gets an opportunity to get a title shot, because that's fair. One-on-one. Even if the title is defended against multiple people, the former champion will defend one-on-one in the next match, one-on-one. And if the title is to change hands, then they have a rematch on the second time, on the 14th, for example. Now, let's say, for the sake of argument, the title goes back to the other person. Well, then what happens? That's not fair to the champion who just lost. Well, that's not true. The final thing will happen on the 24th, when the two people will meet on the third time. It will be 2 out of 3 falls or an Iron Man match, once and for all, to get a clear-cut winner. And that would clear up who the ultimate champion is. That's kind of the layout of the show, if that makes any sense. So honestly, the first show of the month is the longest because everything's fresh normally. And we have to sometimes come up with, we've got to keep track of who's had a title match, who's entitled, who should have a match, regularly, who is, the fans. You guys, the fans, really are responsible for a lot of the same people because you guys request them a lot. And by the way, if there are, we'd love to get feedback on who you guys enjoy the most. I am going to get to some emails where people are talking about specific ones as of right now. I'm going to address those regarding those stars momentarily, but I do want to say that, if there's stars that you guys really enjoy, you want to see more of, we'll obviously love to hear your feedback. Because obviously we also want to share it with the people which they're modeled after. I think they want to know who they're impacting as well. I think that's a cool thing to have, really, in my opinion, anyway. So hopefully that answers your question. So the first show of the month, probably takes about a day to really think about who qualifies, who should have a match. Off air, since the first show of the month takes place on the 4th, usually what will happen is off air we'll have a tournament or something that is not shown, where we'll have teams go in a tournament. Whatever team wins will challenge for the championships. We'll do the similar thing for the title, for a singles title. We'll have an off air tournament. Sometimes, a lot of the times, we won't show those to the public because there's so many things involved. But once in a while we might, depends on what the circumstance is. But in general, that's really the first show, is to establish what the rest of the month is going to look like. That goes for the Dream Warriors too. So with the Dream Warriors, a person will defend the title or have a match against someone, and then the person's going to want a rematch, and then they get that rematch on the 24th, which is a shared thing. That's when the final blow-off will happen. Picture it, if you would, of the old school ways where there would be a major pay-per-view, if you would, or a premium live event, as they're calling them now. So you have your Raw, SmackDown, or whatever middle show going on. Picture that, if you would, for the other shows, or NXT. We'll use WWE as a reference because they're awesome, and they respect it enough not to care. So Raw, SmackDown, NXT, let's say. For us, it's Dream Masters, Dream Warriors, and broken into categories. But that shared space on the 24th is a huge mega show. So normally our shows are 8 matches on general principle. But that final show will probably have an extra few matches because, one, if it's going to be a shared space, it's going to have an equal amount of matches for each. If there's titles involved or whatever, and if there's something that needs to happen. Like this month, I can tell you that we're going to have an awesome. We have a great card coming up on the 24th, actually, and I'm going to be finalizing it today. And if anyone's not aware of the things that have been happening over on Icons, on the 14th, the last Dream Masters show we had crowned new Dream Masters Tag Team Champions as number 1 contenders. Jack and Tim, the Lucky Ones, defeated the Brooks Brothers Incorporated. So, in that sense, the Brooks Brothers are going to be challenging the Lucky Ones on the 24th for those titles. And what type of match that is, we're going to discuss that later. And also, in addition to that, Scotty Brooks, who is the dog, and yes, we have a dog in the roster, and a cat. Scotty has had an ongoing rivalry with Grumpy Cat, and we're going to have one final blow-off between Grumpy Cat and Scotty Brooks, and to end that. Scotty Brooks, by the way, is a female dog, and Grumpy Cat, for those people who don't know about the meme, spoiler alert, Grumpy Cat was actually a female cat. So it's going to be Grumpy Cat, Scotty Brooks one last time, and then we'll find out who's going to be next to go against either one. So that's going to be epic for the Dream Warriors and the Dream Masters. So that's kind of how they work. A lot of the times the shows kind of book themselves, because all honesty, if titles change hands, obviously we know what the next match is going to have to be on the next show. So, for example, by Jack and Tim defeating the Brooks Brothers, we know the Brooks Brothers are going to have to face them on the 24th. The last show, we also know prior, if those people didn't know, JoJo the Bodybuilder got his rematch on the 14th from Big E Elijah Fulton, one of our newest stars, and Elijah defeated JoJo. But prior to that, we had a number 1 contenders match. Prior to that, we know that the punk rocker himself, Elliot Fullingham, is going to be next in line. That will happen on the 24th. And JoJo's going to be probably working on another program somewhere else, doing something else on that end, because people like JoJo. Especially, we're going to address the people who are huge on certain elements of our stars. JoJo is someone, just not to go off to a tangent, that we do know that JoJo the Bodybuilder and Jaden Brooks particularly are 2 individuals we've gotten a lot of emails about from fans who have inspired them for, since we've added them to our roster, and they've meant a lot to a lot of people who are young. JoJo the Bodybuilder particularly was mentioned multiple times. When I got an email, numerous, a long while ago, from a fan who was a mother of one of our fans, who said that, watching JoJo's matches early on helped her son battle cancer. And while he was getting treatment in a facility, while he was getting the treatments and so forth, and going through all the processes, he would watch our matches, and our stars would inspire him, like JoJo the Bodybuilder. And I want to let people know, I did let JoJo know that JoJo is aware that he is someone who has inspired people like him. And one of my last lives on Instagram, I had read off an email that I got from that same mother to give us an update. And I don't remember if I think I did tell JoJo and his dad. His dad's good people too, Ted. That we got an email from the same mother to let us know that the young man is now in 100% remission. That now is bringing our shows to the same clinic to help other kids battle through it. And they kind of have like a little bit of a icons of the F4L thing in Canada, of all places. So we're honored by that. We respect that, and we love the fact that our shows impact people like that. We inspire people who are battling a lot of serious things. Ultimately, that's, at the end of the day, if our show can bring some kind of relief or joy to someone who's battling something like that, or someone can get some type of inspiration, I think there's no better reason to continue doing what we do, and that's why we've been doing what we do. So, that being said, people like JoJo and Jaden are people who are on our show a lot, and I hope that addresses another question I've gotten, like how is it decided who is on a random 8-match card? We honestly try to rotate it as much as possible, but there are certain stars who the fans love to see, and because we know particularly JoJo's someone who has such a big fan base, he's usually on our show somewhere for the record, and so are some other people as well. I hope that answers the question. All right, so that was that. Now I got a question from another fan, Emily. Emily wants to know if we're going to have any new original female characters to go along. So what she's talking about as far as original characters, because she mentioned characters like Pizza the Hut and Ernie the Chicken that we had. I mentioned, Brock Brown, people like that. Are we going to add any Dream Warriors to similar to that? And I'm going to say, we do have a Dream Warrior who's going to be taking part in a match coming up soon. And she is someone who has a lot of... she's got a lot of connection, I guess you'd say, to Pizza the Hut and Dark Helmet that you might see soon. I can't tell you who, but let's just say she's pretty mega. And she'll be making her debut, actually I think she already had a match, but you'll be seeing her on the 24th as a mega surprise, okay? So just stay tuned, Emily, for one of our original characters coming forth on the 24th. But also, we just added Malibu Hardy, who's a newer addition, and she's done pretty well. In fact, Malibu Hardy became the United States champion on our 4th of July show, as we had a combination show for that. So there's that. So I guess you'd say that our shows are pretty cool. And you never know who's going to win what on our show, because we don't know. So hopefully that answers that question. Are you going to see any new original females? There is a mega surprise coming. You'll see her. I mean, also, technically speaking, Scotty Brooks and Grumpy Cat are 2 additions recently as well. I mean, you can't get more random than a dog and a cat. I mean, I have to call a match between a dog and a cat. So, bear with me on that one. So, there you go. Hopefully that kind of does that. Actually, I'm glad I said that, because this next question I get a lot is, how do I call matches so serious when there's so many ridiculous things going on at once? In reference to things like, Scotty Brooks versus Grumpy Cat, or things like that. In all honesty, sometimes I can't, which is why our show works. It's real. I can't help but to laugh sometimes, and I have to make a point. I have to break the fourth wall to, explain that. I mean, only on, and I say it a lot, and whenever I say the term, only on this show you'll see such and such, it's very true. We are the only ones who will have a match between Grumpy Cat and Scotty Brooks, a dog and a cat. By the way, that is one of the ultimate dream matches, right? People always wonder, dog, cat, and we did that just recently again. So there's that. But in general, that's kind of how that works. But yes, that will be a thing. Another question I had from another person wanted to know about our tag team tournament, where generally is all dream matches, Dream Masters, which is the males. Are they going to have a Dream Warriors one? I can say we're going to do both the Dream Masters and the Dream Warriors. So we're going to have both tournaments going on for the Dream Masters and Dream Warriors, all tag teams and pairing off and so forth. So that is something you can look forward to. There is going to be a Dream Warriors tag team thing as well as the Dream Masters. So this August we do that every year. So it'll be two women teaming up as much as it is. So really the way that tournament started is, everyone always wondered, you got Batman and Robin, you got Siegfried and Roy, Beavis and Butthead, Bill and Ted, Wayne and Garth. Who was the best duo of all time? That's how the tournament started, as simple as that. And because we already have the format where how do we find out who's better than who? We're the ones who did that, and that's why we do it. Since then, we always try to add new teams. We have returning teams. Generally speaking, we won't have Hall of Famers come back. We did make an exception during our Open MMA tournament. Somewhat. Only within some. But, all honesty, when you're in the Hall of Fame, as far as we're concerned, you've done your part on our show. You've already served your purpose. You've already become the ultimate icons. You've already served, you've done enough. There's nothing left to prove. Which is why my son and I are already in debates about, 2024's Hall of Fame, where I'm going to be saying that Chuck Norris should be inducted this year's Hall of Fame. Curious what you guys think. Chuck Norris has been probably part of our show since at least Bruce Lee has been, and Bruce Lee was was in the first class of people to be inducted. So, what do you guys think? Do you think that Chuck Norris, people who watch on our show on a regular basis, should Chuck Norris be inducted into our Hall of Fame? Do you think that he needs still to prove something more, or do you think that he's done enough to prove that he is an icon and there's no one better? There's nothing left for him to do. What says you? All right. That's cool. All right, folks. We're going to switch gears, and we're going to get ready to go on a little bit of a journey. Guys, take it away. All right, folks. Our next segment is our Monster Mania updates. I know everyone's excited. Anticipation is key. Folks, I am very happy to say that Monster Mania Con number 55. Could you believe that? Monster Mania 55? We got to get Dave Hagen out here again eventually. But anyway, Monster Mania number 55 is coming up August 4th through the 16th from the Doubletree in Hilton. We're going to run through all of the guests you get to meet down there, or you may be meeting now, with some other pertinent information. So, that being said, we're going to go right through this, folks. So, August 4th through the 16th, 2023, Doubletree in Hilton in beautiful Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Not only will you see yours truly there, as I am very proud to be established with them and work alongside these amazing people and my fellow Monster Maniac family members. We'll have to get them eventually down here too, as we will be bringing and show you guys have a great time and keeping safe at the same time. And other people who you may see there are some of our special guests, including Kiefer Sutherland, one of our big things. He's going to be there Saturday and Sunday only. He's making his very first Monster Mania appearance. And Kiefer Sutherland, I don't know if he really needs an introduction. Kiefer Sutherland, you might know from his role as David on the Lost Boys. You probably also know him from Young Guns 1 and 2, Flatliners, Mirrors. I mean, he was in Stand By Me, one of my favorite movies of all time, The Fugitive. You name it, Kiefer Sutherland's in there. And not to mention, he was on that show, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, 24, as Jack Bauer. Yeah, it was good stuff. Kiefer Sutherland, going to be at Monster Mania 55, August 4th through the 16th, and he's going to be there Saturday and Sunday only, folks. Come down and say hi to him. Also, you're going to get to meet Jason Patrick, of course, another Lost Boy. Of course, he was Michael in Lost Boys, but he was also in Sleepers, which is one of my very, very good, well-done movie. Very hard to watch, too. He was in Speed 2 and numerous other things. You guys all know Jason Patrick. Also, got to say, he was a wicked cool guy, too. And I mentioned this gentleman earlier, Alex Winter. Yes, he was in Lost Boys. But I got to say, you guys might know him as Bill S. Preston, Esquire, from Bill and Ted's, both Bogus Journey and Excellent Adventure. Of course, Bill will be there, minus Ted. Alex Winter himself will be there. He's been in countless other things as well, of course. But, of course, those are probably his two biggest things. Or some of his biggest things right there. Plus, he had a TV series and everything else. Wicked talented Alex Winter. He apparently will be there all weekend, by the way. Billy Rath will be there. Of course, he was Dwayne in the Lost Boys. Get it? You see a little pattern here? I hope so. Dwayne will be there, also in the Lost Boys, and Body Snatchers, Echoes, and numerous other things. Very talented individual. We're going to welcome Billy Rath there. Now, get ready for this. I got to say, when this was added, I was like, no way. But way. He's going to be there. Folks, Lou Diamond Phillips, the legend himself. He was in La Bamba. He was in Stand and Deliver, Young Guns 1 and 2, The Big Hit, The First Power. The list goes on and on and on. He is an amazing actor, and he's going to be there this August. August again, 4th through the 6th, August 2023. Lou Diamond Phillips. All right, hopefully he will do the La Bamba thing for us, or maybe not, who knows. Dermot Mahoney, who plays, he was in Scream, he was in You're Killing Me, he was in Inherited, he was in Insidious 3. This man has been in a lot of things. You know him from Young Guns and everything else. Very talented Dermot Maloney. And this is making his first Monster Mania appearance, so let's make sure he's welcome. Also, making his first appearance at Monster Mania officially. This time he's going to be there. It's Jackie Earle Haley. Now, you guys might know him from, of course, Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Of course, I recognize him from one of my favorite baseball movies of all time. Of course, you know that is The Bad News Bears. And, of course, he was also in other things like Watchmen, Dark Shadows, RoboCop 2014. Very, very underrated actor, in my opinion. I'm going to tell him so. I think he gets a bad rap, and I think he's an amazing actor. I can't wait to talk to him about Bad News Bears, I'll tell you that. Also going to be there is the rock icon himself, the punk rock icon, the metal man himself, Corey Taylor of Slipknot. Also, their only 2023 U.S. appearance. By the way, there's a fun one here. These are these young ladies here. The promoter brought in a few years ago for my birthday, I believe, as I told them once that I had a crush on them as a kid. And of course, they're coming back. Lisa and Louise Burns, of course, you guys know them as the Shining Twins from the old school Shining, who would like to terrorize little Danny Torrance in the original Shining. Lisa and Louise Burns, who Dave was their very first convention ever. Apparently, they're the only convention they're coming to this year, so makes sense. I also have heard them there. Also, you talk about all of the things going on in films right now. Ron Perlman, the ringleader of the movement, so to speak, and the one who has plenty of things to say to Hollywood or the executives on where they can go and what they can do. Ron Perlman, Hellboy himself, will be appearing there. Of course, there's been other things as well. Also, making his first Monster Mania appearance. This was supposed to happen a few years ago. He is going to be there this time. Cousin Eddie himself, Randy Quaid. Of course, that list goes on and on of things he was in as well. Of course, he was in, Uncle Eddie in the Lampoon movies, but he was also in Independence Day and Kingpin and Caddyshack 3 and 2, and numerous other things. Randy Quaid really doesn't need an introduction, I hope. He's been around the block a few times. He might be drunk, but he's definitely been all right. I'm just kidding. That's a bad joke. Randy Quaid going to make his first Monster Mania appearance in August. Also coming to Monster Mania, making his first appearance, the legendary Harry Hamlin. Of course, he was in Clash of the Titans in '81. He was in movie. He was in the movie. He was in Disappearance, Shot to be Shot, Silent Predators, and of course other things as well. Harry Hamlin's all over the place. L.A. Law. I mean, come on, he's the TV icon himself. Also, Keith David, who you guys might remember his role in They Live as the one who fought with Roddy Piper in the most legendary, in my opinion, the best on-street fist fight in cinematic history. Keith David was also in things like The Thing and Spawn and Armageddon, of course. Keith David got to be returning to Monster Mania. Also, Alyssa Sutherland making her first Monster Mania appearance. Of course, you know her from her latest role as Ellie in Evil Dead Rise. That's the newest Evil Dead movie. She's also been in Mental State, Blood Vessel, Don't Look Up, The Devil Wears Prada. She's been around the block a few. She's going to be making her first Monster Mania appearance this August. And I can't believe this is a thing, but it's going to be a thing. And a special photo op, Saturday only, first Monster Mania appearance, Maxwell Jacob Freeman himself, the current AEW World Champion, MJF for short, making his first Monster Mania appearance in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Oh, a Dream Master, an icon of the F4L Hall of Famer, and also one of the best actors, probably one of the most legendary big actors of all time. The great Tyler Mane, Hall of Famer, for icons of the F4L, as his role as Rob Zombie's Michael Myers in 1 and 2, also Sabretooth, Joe Dirt, numerous other movies. He was also in, he was also in Pants on Fire with John Cena, and someone who I have a lot of praise for, in someone who I believe to be one of the biggest rising stars in Hollywood, Christian Convery. Tyler Mane got to work with him early on, and there's no one better to work around than Tyler Mane, one of the awesome people around there. My only gripe with Tyler Mane is whenever hanging out with Tyler, I'm reminded that I'm only 6 feet tall, and he definitely outshadows me. But awesome human being, folks. Gotta say hi to Tyler Mane. Mary Lynn Rakob is going to be there also. Of course, you know her from Chloe O'Brien from 24. You also know numerous other things. Helly Slater. She's all over the place. She's also in It's Sunny in Philadelphia, is Mary Lynn Rakob. Go say hi to her there too. The legendary Heather Langenkamp making her return to Monster Mania in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Of course, Heather Langenkamp, the very first, one of the best final girls of all time to give Freddy a few nightmares of his own. Of course, she was the original Nancy in Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and 3. And the thing that Freddy has nightmares about. Also, not to mention Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I don't think Heather Langenkamp needs any introduction to a horror community. Also, making her first Monster Mania appearance, Lauren Bracco, who of course was in The Sopranos as Dr. Jennifer in The Sopranos. She was in The Goodfellas. She was in Radio Flyer, The Dream Team, Basketball Diaries, Hackers, Medicine Man. The list goes on and on and on. But Lauren Bracco makes her debut at Monster Mania this August within a course of a couple of weeks, folks. Also, everyone's favorite zombie. You love to hate him, or you love him in general. You don't love to hate him. He's a good guy. Eugene Clark makes his return to Monster Mania live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Also, as always, the very talented artist Scott Jackson, along with our good friends at the Living Dead Comics, Living Dead Corpse Comics, Ken Heiser, Buzz Hassan, and Blair Smith. Not to mention you get your Yorkie auction as well. Folks, it's going to be epic in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Not to mention the icon himself, Sean Jazz Stevens, will be there to assist you with having an epic weekend. 3 days, August 4th through the 16th, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, Doubletree at Hilton. Make sure you get your tickets at monstermania.com. On net and whatnot, make sure you get all your photo op things and all those types of things dressed and whatnot. And we look forward to seeing you guys there. Thank you. And that will be that. And Monster Mania is one of the best times ever if you're a horror fan. Even if you're not a horror fan, you like to hang out, it's a good time. So if you're going to be in the Cherry Hill, New Jersey area, come find me. I'll see you there. And let's get ready to go to our next segment. All right, folks, listen to this. All right, I guess this is school's in session, again. So, folks, I don't know how many people have been following the news lately, but I'm going to talk about some things you may not be aware of. Maybe you are. I mean, I think it's kind of impossible not to hear about what's going on currently in Hollywood, with both the Writers Guild of America and the Actors Guild of America currently on strike. What they're striking for, and the reasons for doing such, grievances and so forth. And people have asked me my opinions, and do I have any, and whatnot. Now, before I offer my opinion, or my 2 cents, allow me to say a couple things here. First and foremost, I am not SAG, nor do I ever plan on being SAG. I am, however, an independent filmmaker, and I am also a writer. I definitely believe that people should be respected and compensated for their work on a project or whatever it may be. That I agree with. So that's the first thing. A lot of people don't really know what goes into making a film or a television project, and there's a lot of people you don't even know who are part of anything. You get your writers who are the ones who are responsible for basically giving you the meat and potatoes of your show. They give you your laughs. They write the characters that you love so much. They give them their words. They give them their actions. They give them life. They give them a storyline to follow. Without your writers, you have no basis for a story at all. Without a writer, you have no way to begin or end. So that being said, writers are a very important role in general of any project successful. You need a good one. You need to find someone who does all those things. Now, here's a couple things I have to say. So, the grievances are this. So here's one of the grievances. One of them is there is concern that AI, which is artificial intelligence, is going to take their jobs, the writers, and come up with their own. Basically, what's going to happen is studios or whoever's making the film, the belief is filmmakers or studios are going to go to an artificial machine or a computer and say, give me a script about an action movie or a Rambo movie or whatever, and the belief is this artificial intelligence will write the screenplay for them. AI, for a person to write a screenplay, it takes them a little while because you got to write it, edit it, dictate it, whatever. With AI, you give it an idea of what to do, and it kind of just does it for you. Cuts the work down a little bit. But guess what? There are some pros and cons to that. The thing about... So let me give you an example. I've tested this AI thing out. And first and foremost, let me tell you, fellow writers out there, you have nothing to be worried about if you're worried about an AI writing something better that you can come up with yourself. There is no computer that's going to outthink or outdo a person's imagination. A computer or an entity or a computer or an inanimate object is not going to have the ability to think outside the box. They're going to go with structure, format, and stats, right? They don't know heart. They don't know what emotions are. They don't know what anything of those things. So whenever you want to think that that's going to replace you as a writer, first and foremost, let me tell you, you have nothing to worry about as far as that goes. Because I don't think there's anyone that can ever say that a computer can come up with emotions or any of that thing. I'm going to give an example. I once asked this AI thing, I wanted to see what the hype was. Me, I am someone who does promos in a ring, a wrestling promo, which is talking, right? So I asked AI to give me a 5-minute promo. I asked the AI to write me a wrestling promo, is what I asked it, right? And then I wanted to be specific. I wanted to test it out. I said, write me a heel promo. I said, write me a face promo. A heel, for those people who don't know, is a bad guy. A face is a good guy. And I asked it to produce these two written promos. Now, to be fair, in WWE and in wrestling companies, they do have people who do write out scripts for the wrestlers to follow who cannot do promos. Reason being is they want to make sure that the wrestlers are saying the right things to get the storyline moving in the series. That part of the wrestling, when you want to say the wrestling's fake, that part of the wrestling may be staged. As far as the action goes, the physicalness, there is nothing fake about gravity. I want to be very clear on that. There are serious risks. There are people using real bodies who are really taking bumps and everything else. There's nothing fake about falling 5 feet from the top of the mat. The mat is not as comfortable as you might think it is. So cross those things out. But as far as someone, cutting a promo, I asked it to produce these two promos in a wrestling promo. It was the most generic, non-caring, non-feeling promo on either end of things. It was the same promos you would hear the person who could probably do I don't know how to describe it. For one promo, it was like the most stereotypical, let me tell you something, brother. Which is, by the way, how Hulk Hogan would probably cut a promo in the 80s. Let me tell you something, brother, is a Hulk Hogan reference. That's how Hulk Hogan would start his promos for a heel or a face, regardless of what it was. But because it was Hulk Hogan, he had that charisma, he could sell whatever he said after that stayed. Now, that being said, after reading these two promos that the AI had written for me, they were awful. They had no feeling, no heart, very generic, very basic as basic. A good guy promo was, let me tell you something, so-and-so, because I didn't tell them who I was cutting a promo on. When I get you in the ring, I'm going to show you what I'm all about. That was a promo. When I get you in the ring, I'm going to show you what I'm all about. That's a good guy promo. And the bad guy promo was, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, brother. I hate this town. I hate these people. I want to get out of here. You make me sick. I want to get my bags and get out of here. And you all stink. That was the bad guy promo. Those are the most basic, bland promos I've ever heard in my life. Let me give you an example of me cutting a promo out of my own head. No AI, my head. A good guy promo. This is a good guy promo. Sorry, I'm trying to think of a person to cut a promo on. Okay, I got you. This is a face promo. Okay? Face promo. I have sat back there long enough. I listened to you run your mouth about my town, my people, and all the people here. And I'm going to let you know this right now. You got two choices right now. You can either get out of my ring or get over in that corner and ring that bell because I'm going to knock your teeth down your throat. That's a good guy promo. See? Feeling, empathy. The other one, nothing, right? This is a heel promo. Same thing. Heel promo. You know, I look around all of these people around ringside. You, fat guy right here with the pink shirt. You should be sitting over there with the wings out of your mouth. What are you doing here, you ugly whore? And you, over there, I should let you know that they will not take your food stamps at the food stand right now, just so you know. And you over there, you want to run your mouth. What are you going to do, come over here and beat me up? You're like 2 feet tall, 2 feet nothing. I'll squash you like a bug, you little punk. You and every other one in this stinking little city here. You call this a city. This is nothing. Where I come from, people have morals, people have fiber, people are better than any one of you, and I own every single one of you. You just got jazzed by fitness. That's a heel promo. See? Feeling promo. That was basic off the top of my head. So, yeah, you have nothing to worry about writers as far as AI overtaking your job. Because they're very basic. I don't know if anyone's ever even seen an AI written script. And I also don't know whoever said this was going to be a thing to begin with. This is a concern people have because, someone might have referenced, well, we'll just get AI to do it? Don't be fooled. That's manipulation. There's no such thing as an actor or a machine that can write in depth, emotion, or anything else. AI is going to write things very basic to a T and going by statistics or whatever they believe it should be, formatted or whatever else. It doesn't make it accurate, it doesn't make it real, it doesn't have any kind of emotion attached to it, so it will not work as a script. You understand? Hopefully. So that's the first thing I want to say to my fellow writers out there. You have nothing to worry about with AI overtaking your job because there is no such thing as a computer that can outthink a human. That's not going to happen as far as emotion, depth, how to read an audience. AI does not have that capability to feel emotion, to feel passion, to somehow understand what people are going to feel. A machine does not have that capability. I want to make sure you understand that. That being said, should everyone be paid the same? Yes, if they're working on the same thing. So a lot of this is everyone wants to be paid fairly for their contributions to writing. And I have a lot of friends who write everything. I write everything. There are a lot of people who write television, people who write music, people who write live shows, people like sketch shows, people who write TV episodes, people who write films, right? These are all different genres. These are all different scripts, by the way. Now, for the record, I studied New York style. I prefer New York style or independent film study. I do not really dabble into the Hollywood style. It's a different format, it's a different writing style, and it's different everything else. It's different makeup for Hollywood style script. So, addressing that, should everyone be paid the same? If they're working together collectively in the writing process, yes. Should the guy getting coffee for everyone be paid the same as the guy who's writing the actual script? Should the woman who's making Xerox copies get paid the same as a person who's coming up with the dialogue? I do not believe that. I got to tell you that. That's where I think that there is some differences there. And I'm a writer. And I also understand that everyone has a role as part of a project. I think if you're getting paid, great, you should get paid. But I do not believe that the person who's getting coffee for everyone in the office should be paid the same as the person who's writing, grilling, and grinding the stories together to write all those things. That might be a controversial thing. I get that if you don't agree with that. But honestly, my opinion is that is my belief in my opinion. I'll put it to you like this. There's a writers union, there's an actors union, there are unions for contractors, right? Okay. Let's look at other organizations or other businesses that have a who have a union, right? Let's take a very basic one. Let's go with Stop and Shop, which is a supermarket. Okay? A supermarket, Stop and Shop. They are a unionized supermarket organization. I don't know if they're where anyone else is, but they're a supermarket chain that has a union. So let's take their approach. So the person who's a cashier and the person who is bagging groceries are paid different things based on their job. Okay? That's in their agreement. The person who's working full-time is entitled to a thing the person who's working part-time is not entitled to. And they're paid differently. A person who's working full-time as a cashier is going to be paid more than the person who's working part-time. And who's been there less time. Now, a lot of these things, for example, Stop and Shop goes by how long you're involved in the company. You get paid for your experience level. Should a manager get paid the same as a cashier, or should a cashier get paid the same as a manager? How does this, apply to the Screenwriters Guild or the Writing Guild? If you're telling me that everyone should be paid the exact same no matter what you're doing, I do have some concerns with that from two different elements. And there's some things I want people to think about. Screen actors, so when it comes to writing part of things, writing the format, I think we can agree that the person who's writing the actual dialogue for a live show should probably get paid more than the person who's getting coffee for everybody. Yes, everyone needs the coffee to stay awake, but it's a different job that requires a different level of experience and skill set, right? Now let's say there's two writers, right? A new writer and an older writer who's been there longer, right? If you have two writers who are working on, say, half of a season, okay? You got the young guy who's writing 2 episodes, right? The young rookie, the guy who's just starting as a writer, is writing 2 episodes. And the seasoned writer is going to write all of the other episodes. Let's say it's a 15-season episode. Let's say it's a 15-episode season. So writer 1, the new person who just started writing, who out of writing school, out of film school, wrote 2 episodes versus the seasoned writer who wrote the other 13 episodes. Okay, 2 episodes versus 13 episodes, been there longer. Should the writer who just started get paid the same for those 2 episodes versus the guy who's writing the 13 remaining episodes for the rest of the season? Who's been there longer, who will have the experience, who knows kind of the dialogue and whatnot? Should those 2 writers get paid the same? I want you to think about that your own self. If you're that new person, you're going to say, well, yeah, of course they should get paid the same. If you're someone from an outside perspective, like I am doing, again, I am an independent filmmaker and I'm a writer. I write scripts and I make films. I do both. I am not SAG. I am not in part of the Writers Actors Guild of America. But I do believe that there is always 3 sides of every single conflict, every single time. This is what history tells us. This is what psychology tells us. And I have a degree in both film and human services. And I also have an understanding of things, and I have an ability to separate myself from an initial agreement or a feeling to look at the overall picture. I do agree that everyone should be paid for what they contribute. Absolutely. If the rookie writer writes, let's say it's a 14-episode TV series, right? If the rookie writer and the seasoned writer both write 7 episodes apiece, despite their age, how long one has been in there, they're both doing the equal amount of work. So yes, they should both be paid the same. If they're both writing 7 episodes apiece for a 14 episode season, yes, they're doing the same amount of work and they should be paid the same. But if you're going to tell me that the new writer out of writing school should be paid the same as the person be paid the same for writing 2 episodes versus the seasoned writer who's writing the other 12 episodes. I was right the first time. The other 12 episodes, that's not fair, right? Well, what the Screen Actors Guild is saying is they want everyone to be paid equally for what they work on. I do think that people who are working and have the same amount of work should be paid the same. I, however, do not think that the person who is writing the 2 episodes should be paid the same as a person who's writing the other 12 episodes. That's not fair to the seasoned writer. That's also disrespectful. That means basically the seasoned writer basically getting paid the same as the young guy coming in for 2 episodes. Why does he have to work so hard if he's going to write 14 episodes, get paid the same as the young guy coming in? That doesn't make any sense, and that is where the older person has a right to complain because they've been in the industry longer, they wrote more work. They have a right to complain that they're doing more work than the young writer, but that's not what's going on here. They're all saying that we should all be paid the same for the amount of work that we put in, is what the complaint is. But I want you to think about, if you're a writer, think about who works with you on a writing team. Who is on that team and how much work do they put in, do you put in? And ask yourself, do they put in more work than me and should they get paid the same as I should? Or should you get paid the same as someone who's working more than I am? I think anyone reasonable would say, if I'm a new guy and I'm getting paid the same as a person who's been there longer, who's writing 14 out of 14 episodes, is writing 12 of the 14, I'm only doing 2 episodes. As a person who's just breaking in, I would feel some guilt and some hostility and some feelings, because I would feel like I would be slated as that older person who's been there longer, who's held the fort down, is writing more of the work. Does this scenario explain it to people? Now let's take the other part of things, is people want to be paid fairly for the work that they did for their royalties. We're going to have a chat about this. So this is from... we're going to chat about this, and I know this is going to probably get some people in the Actors Guild a little annoyed. I want to point out, again, that I believe, based upon what you are doing, you should be paid for whatever that is, fairly for what that role is. I'm going to give you guys the 2 layouts here, okay? And you have to understand this from a perspective of a filmmaker who's an independent filmmaker, all right? And I want to say, first and foremost, there is no such thing as an I in team. There is no film that can be made without a whole complete team. You need actors, you need writers, you need directors, you need producers, you need everyone to be on one page, one cohesive unit, communication throughout. That is the success of your project. If there is a hiccup somewhere within that, there is no project. It will fail. That is a tall tale sign. If there's no communication, if there is mistrust, if there's all those things, right? That being said, so recently it's come to people's annoyances that they're getting royalties for shows that are being streamed on Netflix, for example. I know there was an actress who shared her royalty checks for Orange is the New Black, which is being streamed on Netflix for royalties. They get these checks when they add up to a certain amount, and they'll send these checks out. And she's upset the fact that she's getting so much in residuals, and she's believing that the network is taking all of the rest of that, or they're basically what she's saying is there is a annoyance in the fact that when they're doing these works on television shows, for example, they're now being streamed by these streaming services like Netflix, Disney Plus, or whatever. They feel that they should be paid more for the residuals for those appearances than the networks that are putting them on. The networks that are putting them on, they feel, are taking more of the money, are being successful by the work they're doing, and they're only getting a portion of those royalties from those shows. And they're going to get those residuals for the rest of their lives for those shows that they're on as long as they're on those streaming services. And I think the overall thing, anyone who knows anything about we call residuals, folks, or royalties, I guess you could another word saying for it. I get royalties. I get things that I've done in the past. I've written lyrics for songs that I get little itty bitty checks for here and there, once in a blue moon, when a song is either clicked on or someone purchases a song somehow. I can tell you, it's few and far between. And I think one of the biggest things that has been going on for years is the big complaint of how little some of those are, the laughable ones. Sometimes you'll get a residual check for like 2 cents if you're lucky to do that. So this, I want to point out that this has been a thing for a long time. This is not a new thing, this residual thing, or these royalty things. Streaming services are fairly new. And that is a new thing. There wasn't streaming services prior to, years ago, right? Remember, way back in the day with television used to come on a certain night of the week. You had to watch the show, otherwise you missed it. Once in a while, you'll get a repeat. Now, the way it used to work, as far as, royalties go, from my basic understanding of film school and whatnot, and other things, basically the way it works is anytime that episode or whatever that is shared, you get residuals for that. You get a royalty for each time it is aired after that, after a number of times. Usually they'll wait till it gets to a certain level or a certain amount, then they'll send you the check, because if it's so little, then they're not going to waste their time sending you a 2-cent check. They're going to wait until it's at least 5 for, a couple cents here and there. It goes by your contract, how much is in your initial contract, what you're getting on the royalties. When you sign your contract, they'll tell you up front what your royalties are going to be when this comes to television or whatever else. That is in your contract. Most people have lawyers, accountants. You all went to film school. And these are things that are written in your contract when you sign them. What your royalties will be going forward is something that is there. There might be a percentage, or how it's distributed might be different, but overall it's written there, and when you sign, you agree to that. Now the complaint is when they go to Netflix, they're seeing that they're getting these royalty fees. They're getting a check for like $17, $2 a piece for each episode aired on the service. All right. Now I want you to think of something. How many people have been on... if you're a person who's been on a television show prior to the years of streaming services, what is the most you would get for an episode that would air? What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, prior to streaming services where people can just watch it continuously, which you can't, if it's on the service, people can watch it over and over again on the streaming services now. which means your residuals will keep coming in on a regular basis. I want you to think back to when it was on television. Your show, if you're a TV actor, think back to when your television show or your appearance thing was years ago. Think about how often that would happen. You would get a royalty fee for each time that episode might air in the course of a year. Now, in a month period, or in a couple of days, someone could sit there and binge watch a whole season of something on Netflix. This is where the complaint comes from. And they're going to get a royalty for that once someone watches all those shows. Now, granted, if you're getting 2 cents or a percentage, it's only a few dollars here and there. I got to tell you, I want you to understand this and don't take this the wrong way. I know we all want to be paid for our terms and our agreements, right? We all want to be respected for what we do. But if we're being honest, I want you to think how much you were making before the royalties were sold to those streaming services, how many were coming in before, and how many is now. I'm sure it's still not a lot, but I'm sure the more your thing is streamed, the more royalties will be coming in more consistently. Is it enough to live on the royalties? No, it's really not a lot to live on. You can't really live on royalties. Again, I get royalty checks. I get residuals from things that I've done. It's few and far between, folks. It doesn't matter how great the song was or whatever else, unless people actually purchase the song or it's streamed somewhere. I don't get any residuals for those. Streaming services are showing the whatever is being shown that you're working on, and you're able to, fans are able to watch your work. That is going to allow you to continue getting royalties from that. Is it a lot? No, probably not. Is that fair? Yeah, of course we want to get paid more. But would you get the same if you didn't have streaming services for royalties? I want you to really think about that. Would you get the same amount if you had it the old way where there were no streaming services? If your episode literally aired 2 times within a course of a year, you're not going to get the same amount of royalties that you're going to get from 12 episodes in a month or a week. That's common math. That's basic math. And that's how that works. Is it great that you're going to get this cheap little thing? No, probably not. But the fact that it's coming in on a regular basis on top of something else you're doing, it's just a little extra pocket money, really. But where the streaming services come in, your work's going to get seen more, which means you're more guaranteed to have your residuals continue coming. Versus people from the 70s, the 80s, or whatever else, they're not going to get residuals like that before. We live in an environment where people feel they need more than what they should, or feel that if your show's been canceled, you're not working on that show anymore, but you're getting residuals for that show on a monthly basis, versus someone who's worked on a show 20 years ago that's not being streamed anywhere, those people aren't getting anything for those. Bob Uecker isn't getting residuals for Mr. Belvedere. That's not being streamed anywhere. But Orange is the New Black, which is streamed every week, is getting residuals. She showed the check. She's getting residuals, and several episodes she's getting these checks. Think back to when there were no streaming services. How many of those episodes would you see on a check that came out in a year? You're going to get one of those a month now. Now, the other flip side of that is people feel that background actors should be getting paid more. Now, a couple things on this too. And again, apparently Apparently, what was said or what was claimed is that studios want to hire an extra and scan their likeness, and for the rest of their life use their likeness for they're going to pay them $300 for the day to shoot them, and then they're going to own their likeness for their projects and put them in the background. What they leave out is that they're going to get a residual for each time that's aired, every time it's shown. They don't talk about that part. But the other part about it is, yes, I looked at I looked at every single aspect, and I understand that everyone wants to get paid fairly. But let me tell you something, as a background actor, I've done background acting. If you're trying to claim that you should be paid as much as the people who have dialogue in a movie, I don't agree with that at all. I'm going to tell you why. Because all right, from the production value, okay, I have done the other side of the camera, okay, I've been in front of it and behind it, okay. As someone who's trying to put a project together, I don't know if you understand how much it costs to make a movie for a filmmaker or a project manager or a producer. People seem to think that everyone is loaded and have this opinion that everyone has money in the film industry. There are a lot of very, very, very poor filmmakers who would love to make a film, but cannot do so because they can't afford the demands that the SAG puts on, that all of these demands that they have to pay. Now, how do they get around that? They'll hire people who are not union to do their projects. That means the SAG people are going to lose out on those opportunities, and they're going to go to people who are not union, who will get paid, and will get paid whatever they're agreed to based on their thing. A person who's standing in the background of a scene is not as vital to a scene as a person who's delivering dialogue and emotion and as a main character. They should not get paid the same. How much more do you think? So if you have an extra who's in so people use the scenario in a baseball diamond or a baseball stadium, okay? I want you to think about this. Think of how many seats are in a baseball stadium. If you pay each of those extras the same amount as Ben Affleck, hold on, let's find out what Ben Affleck's thing is. Because Ben Affleck, by the way, started out as a background actor, as he's been talking about. And that's true. And guess what? Spoiler alert, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were both extras in a baseball movie, in this film that was shot in Boston. So 1 second, let's find out how much. 1 second. So I'm Googling how much Ben Affleck makes per movie. That's what I just Googled. Alright, so he makes at least $10 million up front per project. You hear that? $10 million per project. Ben Affleck. So since Ben Affleck was an extra, and he's also a leading actor, let's take that figure. Alright. Now, take that $10 million. Let's find out how big is Fenway. All right, folks. Fenway Park, which is the oldest baseball stadium in the country, which, by the way, is also probably one of the smallest, if I'm being honest, and oldest. It is the oldest. It holds 37,355 people. Uh-huh. So 37,755 people currently can fit inside Fenway Park. Ben Affleck makes $10 million a film. Okay. So now 1 second. We're going to take this. Again, folks, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to downplay this. I want people to look at this realistically. Okay. So, $10 million. Okay, so $10 million. 10. One second. I'm writing $10 million. That's more money than I've ever seen for a project. But anyway. Okay. Okay, so $10 million times. One second, folks. Oh yeah, we'll just do it this way. Alright, so I did 37,755 people. So 37,755 people times $10 million. And that equals 377. Oh, never mind. It's an astronomical number, folks. That's for extras, folks, not Ben Affleck. So 377. You know, that number is a ridiculous number right here. I'm going to post this on everywhere else. But anyway, regardless. $377,555 million, folks, to cast, to fill Fenway Park. So, I want you to now think about that from a filmmaker's point of view. You're paying your extras $10 million on top of your actors getting $10 million. Your whole film cost goes to casting. There's no money for anything else. No special effects. Nothing else. There's nothing left because your budget has been counted on your extras. So listen, I'm not saying you don't reward your extras, because listen, when you're an extra and a background actor or whatever they want to call them, I guess they have different names for them. I was called an extra when I was doing it. I guess they call them background actors, because supposedly that's a dialogue. I don't know why that's a disrespectful term, but apparently people feel if that's a touchy subject, call them extras. But background actors, as we're calling them now, background actor, I'm saying that they should be rewarded for their time on set. I absolutely agree with that. But they should not get paid the same as the people with dialogue, the people with voices, with lines, or anything else, because their role is not. At the end of the day, your film is not going to be sold on your extras. It's going to be based upon the performances. Because I'll tell you this, when it comes to the Oscars or any of the award ceremonies, any of them, no one ever says extra background actor of the year. There's no category for that. It's best actor, best actress, best supporting actress. There is no category for background actor. Should we just add that category? And how do you determine who the best background actor is? The reason why it doesn't exist is because it's impossible to choose one single background actor and say they're better than every other background actor, because most likely it's the same background actor in 7 different roles. As an independent filmmaker, normally speaking, who does things with no union, I don't use a union, I don't use union actors, I don't use a union anything. Because I'm not union, I don't expect people to work for me who aren't union. And I won't work with people who are union because I can't afford, as a filmmaker, to work with someone who's union. I agree with paying people what they deserve. I believe in paying them for their work. I do not agree that background actors should get paid the same as someone with dialogue. I believe in... You know what? Do you want to know what I do? Personally, it's the background actors I hire for my films because I give them an opportunity to be in front of a camera instead of a background actor. That's what people like me do. But if you're a SAG background actor, I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing about the union. You got to pay fees and dues, and I get that. And it's frustrating. And it's upsetting. But I wanted you to ask yourself, you have to pay your union fees regardless if you're working, right? Isn't that correct? I mean, if you're part of a union, they take it out of your work. It's the film projects and the studios who give you your insurance. Because that's what it says. I looked up the guidelines and I know what SAG covers. I know what is not covered. I know how it works as far as a filmmaker's perspective, because guess what? I am a filmmaker, but I'm an independent filmmaker. There are many, many talented people out there who are SAG who I would love to give an opportunity to work with. I'm not going to hire them because I can't afford them and everything else. Because you take a SAG actor, they have to have their own special rules. They have to have this. They have to have this certain. They have to have an X amount of lines in a film or a project, and all these other guidelines. That is where you overstep into the filmmaker's world. If I'm hiring someone and I'm giving them a role for something, I see that in them. And I will often make up a role for someone if I believe and I see something talented in them. But don't tell me what to write for them or tell me how many lines to give them or how to use those people based upon their status. That's a little entitled. I don't think a background actor should get paid the same as the person who's delivering the dialogue, who's carrying the story on their back, which is most of the time. So the argument is that the studios and the executives are taking all this money and making all this. I'm an independent filmmaker. I know a lot of independent filmmakers who cannot afford to make their projects alone, everything else. And where I agree that everyone should get paid what they deserve, I don't think they need to be in their... They need to be paid per their job, not by just the fact that they are a SAG actor or not. That's my point. So, do I support the strike or the writer's thing or the writer's strike or whatever else? I want to make this very clear. I understand the frustrations on both ends. It's not right to not feel like you're being appreciated. It's not right to not feel that you're getting paid what you're deserved. But I think you need to look at what you're getting and what the fight is. The last time they mentioned there was a strike, it was 1960 or whatever, 1967 or 4. There was no social media. There was no cable in those days, folks. So I want people to think, I want people to know that if this is the stance, this is going to be a long one. And I want to give you something else to think about. And I'm playing devil's advocate here. I don't want you to think that I'm siding one way or the other. I see both sides. Actually, I don't see the studio side. I am always going to be on the side of the little guy, no matter who it is. But I can tell you, as an independent filmmaker, I wouldn't be able to afford to fill Fenway Park on a budget of $10 million per extra. That's not feasible. But I do think that you should at least feed them all and give them some type of compensation for that day. That is what I'm saying. You should get paid for what you do for your role. But you need to understand that your role is that, and there are far more important roles that require more work and should be paid more than that of someone who's standing in the background. That's my point, and I'm sorry if that upsets people. It's honest. But at the end of the day, I want to prepare people who are on that fence where you're going to protest. I don't know what was said. In all honesty, we were not going to know. Every single fight has two sides. There's two sides of every single story. There's one party, the other party, then what really happened. 3 sides of everything, actually. I think that's what I said. 3 sides of every single argument. One party, the other party, and then what really happened. In our case, from the outsider point of view, you have everyone who works in film and television, writers and actors guild, that guild, and then you have the executives in the studios. So those are your two. You're on one side of those fences, but there's a middle ground of where the compromise is on both. And there has to be a compromise somewhere. And I'm going to tell you this. Someone is going to bend somewhere. They have to in order to get back to work. I have to be honest with you guys. Someone's going to bend. Because here's what I'm going to tell you. What's something you should think about. Especially with streaming services and all these other things. There are many independent filmmakers, independent people around the world. There are countries who make films. I don't know if you know this. Every single country has a film committee, has a film industry. Iceland, Denmark, Russia, Romania, Italy, Germany, Brazil, okay? Canada, Mexico, Japan, Hong Kong, Korea. And there are numerous others. There are film studios in every single country. I want you to think about this. What's going to happen with these streaming services if you push long enough? You're, as a SAG actor of America, you're going to lose those roles and any opportunity for those. And what streaming services will do, if they really want to be as evil as people are saying they are, they will go to those film studios in all of those other places where there is no SAG and no union. They will pay them whatever they were going to pay you, and they, as independent up-and-coming filmmakers who are hungry to get a chance, who normally wouldn't get a chance because of bigger names who would have bigger things to pay, they're going to give them their projects. They're going to give them their work. So I want you to think of that, but also to the studio's executives, think about what you're sacrificing when you do that. There are a lot of hard-working people who are hungry, who have nothing to say within. There are people in the union who probably don't want to be out of work. They can't afford it. So you should think about that on both ends. There needs to be a compromise on both ends in the middle. Because I'm going to tell you this. It's going to be a long strike. Because there are ways that the studios and the executives can get around without using a SAG or an Actors Guild. There are plenty of writers, filmmakers who are not unionized who can do the same job. Maybe not as well, but they will get the job done. Think about that. And it's not AI. It will not be an AI thing. It will be another person, an everyday Joe who's hungry for an opportunity who will take your job. That's what I want to point out. And I want you to think about. Don't worry about AI. It's useless. But you should worry about the many, many, many people out there who can do your job who isn't union, because they're the ones who are going to get that job. Thank you. And again, everyone, don't get dampered. Don't be all upset. And I'm hoping I'm not disrespectful. I'm trying to find the middle ground here. I think you should be paid fairly for what your job is. I think it's awful that people are in this situation. I think it's sad that there's a strike. There are families who are, people who are working on projects that are halted because of this. It's not right. There needs to be a compromise. Don't be yelling and screaming at each other. Find a compromise. Get it done. And may all your dreams come true. Sean Jazz Stevens. Peace, everybody.